Hi, this is Jack Wiant with CredibleInformation.com, and we're here once again at the Rockwell Table Stage. We're about to see the show Baz Luhrmann, and I'm talking to Christopher Lloyd Bratten, who's the musical director and really one of the first inspirational leaders of this whole thing, and the one that got it started, along with Shane. And we've talked to Shane a few times. We haven't had the pleasure of talking to you, Christopher, and you know, you're such an important part, the music director, and you perform with the band and lead them and everything else. So, thank you. And we're just going to get right into this particular show because you've done this show for a while. It was one of your earlier ones. Mm-hmm. Now, the shows evolve as they go on, but now you've got a new movie that just came out that you've got to introduce to it.
Yeah.
Now, tell us a little bit about how this show evolved and how it's a little different from the shows, and how did you integrate the new movie?
Well, in the first incarnation of our Baz Luhrmann show, we told pretty much like a shortened version of the Romeo and Juliet story, used like Strictly Ballroom as sort of like a palate cleanser, and then told like, you know, a shorter version of yeah, it was great. No, the music was just so light, and you know, it's sort of like, you know, separate the drama a little bit. And then we told sort of like pieces of the Moulin Rouge story. But now that we had The Great Gatsby, we were able to, you know, blow the whole thing up and restructure it and basically tell the one big story that all the movies are telling, which is like the star-crossed lovers, you know? That's sort of like our unofficial subtitle for this show. Because that's such a common theme in those four movies. These two people who are meant to be together, but or, you know, the circumstances are keeping them apart, right? So that's what we focus on with this show. So now you sort of follow all the characters simultaneously throughout the whole show.
The way we structured this particular show is just really found the content that he is drawn to, and the story of star-crossed love is really what binds this whole thing together. He uses music so effectively to tell his stories. Even though The Great Gatsby is not a musical, he made such right choices for that.
And
so it's
very eclectic. You've got traditional music, you've got music from the, well, with that one you've got music from the 20s, but you've got Kanye West and Jay-Z and, you know, all this mix up of his, which is so characteristic of his films.
That's what I loved about the soundtrack, is that it just turned things on its ear that you wouldn't necessarily hear that pop song done in a certain way. And so we're having a lot of fun taking that even and then mashing it up further into our own theatrical version of it.
Christopher was saying that you start with picking the music. That's kind of the thing. The three of you kind of have to sit down and pick the music. Yeah. Do you have a lot of arguments about that? Picking which one?
You know what's funny is there's certainly days that, like, in all creative processes that we'll get at each other's throats. But it's been a very healthy relationship. And as far as the right choices always make themselves like apparent at the right moment.
We like the songs that are just the great songs of the soundtrack, you know, that people know, you know. Like when you think of Great Gatsby now, there's like certain songs like Young and Beautiful and the Florence and the Machine song Over the Love that sort of stand out and that people will come expecting. But we're also looking for the songs that were part of the storytelling in the movie.
That's what I was wondering.
And with directors like Baz Luhrmann or like, you know, Tarantino and some of the others, and all these other directors that we've done, they use the music in such a integral way, you know, to help propel the story forward.
We never wanted this show to be a bunch of actors mimicking scenes that they've done. Originally, it all came out of the idea that friends sit around and quote movies all the time when they're hanging out at their house or they go out to dinner and they quote a movie. And so it came out of that personal connection to a movie that we want even our actors, even at this stage in the evolution, to have their own take on what that moment was.
How do you perform like that with different styles, so different, and you've got to like switch and do it?
Well, that's what's so challenging about hiring musicians and performers for this show, is because they have to be able to they have to be very versatile. You know, our musicians have to be able to play almost any different style, and you know, effectively, and switch on a dime, and deal with transitions and actors running around the stage and all that stuff. And the performers themselves have to sing and dance and act and play multiple characters within the course of one show.
Yes. And here's one of the actors, Ben Goldberg. Thank you, Ben, for coming to see us.
My pleasure.
You've been in many shows before.
I have, yes. Almost all of the series here. We did differently in this show than some of the other shows is that you see songs that maybe you saw in Gatsby, in The Great Gatsby, coming into play for characters like Romeo. So I play Romeo and I play the Duke primarily from Moulin Rouge.
You were saying that you play Romeo.
Correct.
So tell us a little bit more about your character and just what is it about and what do you do in the show?
Sure. It's one of my favorites because there's no challenge like Shakespeare in a bar. And so I get to play this brooding, loving, star-crossed lover, and then I get to mix that with the Duke from Moulin Rouge, who I guess my take on him is slightly different from the film in the sense that, in the film he's got this very evil sort of, he is the bad guy. And we definitely play him as the bad guy, but I like to have a lot of fun with him. So we get to see Romeo do his, he meets Juliet, and the rest is history.
It's an homage and a salute to a director and to his work, but within this we want to take people on a unique ride. It's not just a concert of songs from Baz Luhrmann movies. It's just woven together. But at the heart of it, we always say, this is a concert, a theatrical concert, and every good concert has a rise and a fall.